Cal Ripken Jr. joins us. Now, Cal, thank you for taking time for us. What's your thought on Bud's proposal to have a true World Series winner?
Well, I mean, it's a great concept in theory. I've been over to Japan 3 times on those tours where we challenged their all-star team, and I guess we took a team from the Orioles one year, and then we had 2 all-star teams again. I think all of us felt that it was sort of a true World Series in a sense where you were measuring yourself against someone else in the world. Japanese they got a great caliber of baseball, as we've seen by the talent that's come over, and certainly it's a competitive environment. They won the last 2 WBC Classics. So, certainly I don't know how, logistically you'll figure all that out and whether it will truly define it, but I'm all in favor of expanding baseball around the world, and this would be a good step to do it in.
Hey, Cal, Paul Sullivan from the Tribune.
Hi, Paul.
All the talk now with McGuire coming out and admitting things, I mean, you played during the era. How would you, if you were in our position as writers, put this all into perspective when you're voting for the Baseball Hall of Fame with guys that maybe you suspect but you don't know for sure, and then there's guys that have admitted it? I mean, it's just such a mess.
Well, you guys certainly are in a tough position, and I'm glad it's you and not me. First of all, no, again, you are thinking about all the right things, I think. In order to make some sort of subjective opinion, you have to consider all the facts, and certainly part of the profile of a player is, whether he did it or not, and to what extent he did it. That makes it really, really hard. As far as the steroid era goes, I guess that's kind of hard. I didn't look at my era playing in it as a steroid era. I just looked at it as a baseball era. And certainly we're finding out a whole lot more about people who did steroids during that time frame, and it's been, I thought it was a whole lot less, and it's been a little bit shocking at some of the names that come out, but I'm still not comfortable kind of looking back. People that made that decision made individual decisions, and there are repercussions for those decisions, and I truthfully think, that the truth might not come out today or tomorrow, but eventually it'll come out, and I guess, their careers are judged in many different ways by you guys when you're considering for the Hall of Fame. But I think the best judgment is, how do you feel about yourself looking in the mirror?
Cal, it's Jim Lipke from the Associated Press. Let me flip that around, though. To me, the interesting thing, or at least the mystery of the steroid era, was really never who, but how many guys. In other words, the only way we can judge the era, I guess, as writers, and even yourself as a ball player, is to have some context. I mean, if Jose Canseco said 80%. Ken Caminiti, remember, I believe said around 50%. If I said to you, you got to settle on a number, what would that be? And how about all the guys that weren't involved being colored that way as well? Well,
I mean, I don't think you're guilty because you played in an era, and I don't think that that's the case. And I couldn't even put a number on it. I think, honestly, if you're in that culture and you're in the know, then you become aware of it in one sense. If you're not, you might have some suspicions on 1 or 2 players that you think, have gotten bigger faster, and how long it's taken you to gain any sort of results in the weight room. So you might have suspicions, but to kind of look at it and say that a huge percentage did that, I wasn't sure. And as far as the era, when you look at it, certainly when I first came up, it was really interesting. 39 home runs, where it was right there in the league leader in home runs, sometimes early 40s, maybe late 30s. I think this year 39 was actually in the American League, for the home run title. Then all of a sudden, to try to comprehend and try to understand, the 50 home run mark being broken so many times, the 61 being broken, and then the 70s. Athletes are bigger, stronger, faster. There's more guys that throw 95 on each staff. There's an evolution for the athlete in all sports. But to try to make sense of who did what and when they did it, I can understand the confusion in some ways, and I think history will tell that story eventually, and that's the only way that I can kind of get comfortable with it.
Hey, Cal, it's Dan Pompei. It won't be very long before we're heating up with spring training here. How do you see the American League shaping up this year? Can anyone compete with the Yankees?
Well, I mean, it turned out that the Yankees certainly bought 3 of the prize free agents last year, and the difference maker, CC Sabathia and A.J. Burnett, in a short series, they can make a big difference. As we know, and then in the course of a long season, the depth of your staff certainly allows you to win. It is still about the health. It is still about the overall decision making. And the Yankees, even though they've had the high payroll before, it wasn't until last year having CC come on and anchor down that staff and have AJ pitch as well as he did. And don't underestimate Teixeira coming in there. He really solidified that whole infield defense by his ability at first base and knocking in all those home runs. So, the Red Sox are always going to be formidable. They've made some good decisions there. They put good product on the field. They've improved the depth of their pitching staff a little bit. But I think you're right. It's a safe sort of prediction if you start to go to the Yankees first. Maybe the Red Sox second. The Angels got a wonderful group there, but I think those three are the teams that first come to mind when I'm starting to analyze. And I hate the prospects of handicapping or kind of looking at the season, because that's why you play the 162. And there's so many different things that can happen. But the key to anyone's success is in the depth of their starting staff, and the guys with the money can certainly improve that anytime they want.
Hey, Cal, when you started your career, did you look at major league records and go, wow, 60 home runs, 61 home runs, 2,000 whatever number of games in a row that Lou Gehrig had, 511 wins by Cy Young? What record do you look at, whether it's yours now or one of the others, you go, they'll never break it?
Well, I don't. It was kind of ironic is that the consecutive game streak thing didn't. I wasn't enamored with that at all. I thought, as every other player is, hitting the home runs, and you kind of looked at Hank Aaron's record of 755 home runs, and you start to do the math. If you think that you're up and around 30 home runs, and you go 30 home runs for 20 straight years, you're still 155 short. And so, looking at home runs and looking at hits and those sorts of things, you could start to dream a little bit. The 56-game hitting streak, I think, is ridiculous. I had as many as maybe 16 a number of times, and then people start asking you about your hitting streak, and then you try to get hits, and then you don't. So the hitting streak is ridiculous for the consistency that happens, and really hitting all those home runs, being that consistent, over a long, long period of time was one that I looked to.
Hey, Cal, Paul Sullivan again. I hate to bring this up, but boy, when I covered the White Sox, every time we went to Baltimore, it was such a big deal because it's such a great franchise, great ballpark, great tradition, and it's been so long now since they've been back on top. Do you see any future there, or what's been the problem?
I'm sorry you brought that up in a way myself. No, I mean, there's around here, and I was an Oriole through and through, and I'm still an Oriole fan, and it does bother you. You want to get back to a level of respectability, and knowing that the Oriole system was one that was looked upon as one of the better ones all the way through baseball for many, many years. I keep my fingers crossed that you get back. I've had a chance to interact with Andy McPhail a little bit more lately because we're helping with the design of the spring training place in Sarasota, and just talking to him, looking at him, he's put together a lot of young talent, and he's starting to align that young talent, whether it's in the form of Adam Jones and Markakis, in the outfield, two great players, but the pitching staff. When you look at their pitching staff, they got legitimate guys that throw 95 and 96 with good stuff. They gave up a lot of home runs. I think some of that is in the selection of their pitches. But certainly you got to start with raw talent, and there's a lot of hope that's starting to be generated by the talent that's there. Now you got to turn that talent into wins, and I think that's the next challenge. But me as an Oriole fan, not as an Oriole player or past player, I'm feeling pretty good about the potential of the young players being assembled.
Hey, before we let you go, you mentioned pitch selection. They need you back at short or third calling pitches for them.
Yeah, I mentioned that to Andy. I don't know how I can get in the game like I used to and get that good close view from shortstop of what the pitches are calling. But certainly, when you think about the logic of pitch calling, it's not just identifying the hitter's weaknesses and really looking at the pitcher's strengths. It is reacting to what happens pitch by pitch. And I think being in the middle of the infield, sometimes it gave me a unique advantage, and I did offer my opinion from time to time.
Tell us about the clinic. You're coming into Lyons Township High School, I believe on the 30th, and the high school coaches get a chance to learn from you and from your brother, and I think John Havion's coming in as well.
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing coaches clinics for a while now. We find it a great way to share the information that Dad, who the Encyclopedia of Baseball was for us, and Billy and I, we added our own experience level on top of that. But we really want to share the knowledge, and so we're coming to Chicago on January 30th. It's going to be 10 to 4. If you have any questions at all, the best place to go is ripkenbaseball.com. All the information is on there. It's just a wonderful day of hitting, fielding, drills, pitching. John Habian does a nice presentation on the 5 links of the chain, which is his way of describing the mechanics of baseball, which is really well. We'll go over team fundamentals. We have an interactive session. And if you're lucky enough to be one of the coaches that Billy pulls up on stage, you might end up regretting that afterwards because he's pretty funny.
Yeah, he is pretty funny. I have a famous baseball card of his.
I don't think he thought that was too funny.
Exactly. Cal, thank you for taking time. It's been an honor talking to you.
It's my pleasure. Thanks, guys.
All the best.